As a millennial, I did everything we were taught. I listened to trusted authorities in school with my finances, and yet, when checking the balance of my retirement calculator and running the numbers, reality crept in. This isn't going to be enough. If that thought has ever crossed your mind, you're not paranoid, you're paying attention. I'll show you why 3 years ago I completely transitioned from farming out my financial well being to an advisor to study what the wealthy do instead. At that time, I was making more money than I ever had, but still working more and trading my time for more money and wasn't able to enjoy it. Now I'm building a portfolio of assets that are replacing my 401k and actually building financial freedom for me long before the age of 60. By the end of this video, you'll see which assets I'm utilizing that started building wealth that works for me, not the other way around. I'm Nick, and I'm creating a movement to help working professionals crush their limiting beliefs about money and design a portfolio of assets that work for your life to build real wealth now and create a life you never want to retire from. If this resonates with you, please like and subscribe below. Let's get into it. So, when you think about retirement as a whole, here's something your financial advisor is never going to say out loud, so I will. The plan they sold you isn't a retirement strategy, it's a product. And that product was built to keep you working and postponing your life. Now, as just a reminder, none of what I'm saying is financial advice, but it's my own opinions for educational and informational purposes only, right? But think about what a 401k or a Roth IRA actually is. It's not just an account, it's a legal agreement that the money you put in stays locked away until you're 59 and a half. Touch it early, and you pay a penalty on top of taxes, on top of losing years of growth. I had to ask myself, what does an account like that actually guarantee? Not my freedom, not my flexibility. It guarantees you have to keep showing up to a job year after year, decade after decade, because the wealth you're building can't step in and support you until you're at that arbitrary finish line. And that's not an accident, that's the design. It looks like progress on a screen, but quietly making sure you can't leave your financial hamster wheel until the 30 or 40 years are up. Here's what genuinely frustrates me. You already traded the most valuable, non-renewable thing you have, your time, for that paycheck. 40, 50, some of us 60 hours a week handed to a company. Then what do you do with the money you get back from that time? You hand a chunk of it straight back into the stock market, into a 401k, stacked with the same mega cap corporations you just spent your week making richer. You gave them your time, then you gave them your money. This is why I completely stopped my 401k and Roth IRA contributions and gave up on this old model of retirement. This old model was not the design I wanted for my life. Instead, the first thing I did was start investing in myself. I learned that these types of retirement products, let's call it what it is, are not what the wealthy actually use. They learn skills to increase their value in the market and then use real vehicles like real estate, starting their own business, investing in new technologies like the internet when it came out, or in our day, like utility-based cryptocurrencies, to actually build wealth. They accrued assets that replaced their paycheck and, more importantly, kept up with the ever-increasing cost of living, inflation, right? Here's the part that is harder to talk about, though, and it's because it's not about spreadsheets, it's about identity. As a millennial, I didn't just do the financial part right, I did the effort part right too. See, we've worked harder than the generation before us, longer hours, more availability, always reachable, always on. But what did we get for it? Wages have not kept pace with that effort, not even close. Productivity has climbed for decades while real wages have just crawled. You've been putting more fuel in the tank and the car is barely moving. And now, sitting on top of all that, there's a brewing problem growing every day for working professionals, especially white collar folks. What if AI does my job better, cheaper, and without complaint? That fear does something specific to a person. It makes you grip tighter, makes you show up earlier, stay later, say yes to that extra ask because the paycheck feels like the only thing standing between you and the floor falling out. This is paycheck addiction. I had it. It comes with withdrawal symptoms too. Anxiety when you imagine leaving, guilt when you consider slowing down, and a low-grade dread every single Sunday night that rolls around. And here's the trap. The better you get at your job, the more money you make, the nicer the car gets. You know, you've heard the term golden handcuffs. That's exactly what this is. The salary gets big enough, the lifestyle gets comfortable enough, that walking away starts to feel like financial suicide or reckless, even when staying is emotionally bankrupting you. I made a deal with myself like many others. I'll just push through. I'll suck it up until 60, 65, and then I'll finally be able to live. It wasn't until I willingly gave it all up, what was a nightmare at the time turned actually into the biggest blessing in disguise for me. In 2021, I declined to take the necessary injection that was being pushed by employers across the world and lost everything, lost my job and that steady paycheck. The amazing thing is, though, it forced me to rewire my brain. And after studying what the wealthy were doing, it actually allowed me to rebuild and gave me a fresh start to build a new life based on freedom and being in control of my life, not farming out my time to someone else for 40 years and hoping I'll have enough to survive off of at the end of it. So I made a decision. I was done just surviving. My family deserved better. And I started investing in myself and destroy the limiting beliefs I was holding about money so we could thrive instead. So here's the shift I made: not retire at 65, but replace your income within 5 to 10 years. If even hearing that gets you excited, it should, because it's absolutely possible. No matter where you're at, even if you lost everything and had to start over from zero, like I did. This is the difference between an earner and an owner. And it's the single biggest identity shift I coach people through. An earner trades time for a paycheck. An owner acquires and builds things that pay them, whether they show up and put in their time or not. These are two completely different games. And as millennials, we've only been taught to play one of them. Here's what that actually looks like practically. Instead of asking, how much can I save? You start asking, what can I acquire that produces income independent of my job? Two assets, fixed supply assets, do the heavy lifting here. And these are what I coach people through who are serious about building a life of freedom and lasting wealth in this generation. First is real estate. Real estate, not as a speculative flip, but as an income producing asset. A single, well underwritten rental property doesn't just appreciate, it produces monthly cash flow. It gets paid down by someone else's rent. And it comes with tax advantages your W-2 income will never see. If you're a working professional like I was with a decent income, stacking even just one of these types of properties per year over 5 to 10 years is completely doable. And you've ultimately built a second paycheck that doesn't require you showing up to earn it. There's only so much land that God made, and that guarantees scarcity over time, which is why home prices appreciate and build tangible, lasting wealth over generations. The other asset is utility-based fixed supply cryptocurrencies. See, the dollar supply keeps expanding, which is why your $2 million maybe saved up at 60 years old actually shrinks in real terms. Fixed supply cryptocurrencies were built to do the opposite. A hard cap on supply, and a handful of utility-based cryptos out there are actually solving real problems for the global financial system right now. This value is why these assets have been steadily climbing since their inception. The winners in what I coach and teach on are XRP, XLM, HBAR, and others. These have already been chosen by the biggest institutions and banks across the world, and you and I have a small window of time as we fully transition into a blockchain-centered global economy where we have the opportunity of a generation to own a piece of the technologies making this transition happen. So even just a small allocation as an early holder of these assets while they're still cheap will allow some of the biggest asymmetric gains as we approach 2030 and beyond as this financial system transitions. And the good news is, if you haven't gotten in yet, you're still early. In my coaching program, I show you the exact allocations, exit plans, and strategies that have worked for me to make unprecedented gains over the last few years. And we custom tailor this to your specific situation. So if this is starting to hit home for you, check out my free training below. It's called the Millennial Money Freedom Training. It's actually a condensed portion of my actual coaching program. I work with real paid clients to help demolish the limiting beliefs they have about money, understand the 4 truths about money, the 4 lies about money that we've been taught, and look at the assets that we're building now in this generation to build wealth and build more freedom. If this is something that interests you, check it out for free below. Now, notice what both of these assets have in common: real estate and crypto. They keep producing value over time while you sleep, while you're at your job, while you're on vacation. That's what breaks the paycheck addiction. Not working harder at the job you're afraid of losing, but building something the job can't touch. 5 to 10 years of focused acquisition can put you in a fundamentally different position than 30 years of hoping your 401k outruns inflation. Not because you got lucky, because you changed which game you were playing. And the reason this feels hard isn't the math. The math is simple once you see it. It's hard because somewhere along the way, you were taught that a good employee who saves diligently is a financially responsible adult, right? Many of us were taught that from our parents. The identity got baked in early in school from that first job, your first 401k enrollment, and it's been running on autopilot ever since. Becoming an owner requires you to consciously override that programming, means sitting with the discomfort of not having all the answers your financial advisor gave you, and building a new set of skills, evaluating assets, communication, understanding cash flow, learning what actually protects purchasing power. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but the alternative, the one that most people are quietly living right now, is 30 more years of a paycheck you're afraid to lose, propping up a number that's shrinking every year you actually hold it. I didn't stop trusting financial advisors because I got cynical. I stopped trusting because I ran the numbers, and the numbers didn't lie to me. The plan did. The good news is this: the moment you see it clearly, you can start building the alternative today, not at 65, now. If this hits something for you, let's actually get you out of the gold handcuffs instead of just talking about them. I'll see you there.